Hi everybody, it's me, Ken, aka the King for Mayor on YouTube. And as I do a lot of things in my life, this is one of them. I do Democracy 3 modding, which Democracy 3 is a political simulation game made by Positex. Really cool game. I suggest you check it out. But I do mods for it on Fiverr, so for $5 you can order a new policy for the game. So if there's something like, say, you want to implement, I can make it for you. So I'm working with one client right now. His name's Edwin, and I've made this mod for him called the Job Guarantee mod. And the way the Job Guarantee mod works is that in cases of unemployment, a percentage of the GDP is allocated towards providing minimum wage jobs for people in the country. So basically, effectively destroying unemployment, but it is rather expensive to just employ anybody who does not get employed by the private sector. So just say, here, I have a public sector job. So it's rather expensive, and that's the issue that we're dealing with right now in the simulation. So he's got some questions here, and I thought I would uh, do a video to try to kind of explain how some of the things in Democracy 3 work, um, so I wouldn't have to type out a bunch of stuff. And it's a benefit for everybody else who wants to watch this video as well. Remember, if you want a Democracy 3 mod, I am on Fiverr, also called the King for Mayor on Fiverr as well, so feel free to look me up. So he writes, I'm going to need a currency issuing mod. Also, after playing the Job Guarantee mod, I noticed that the GDP was low. Why is that? Will quantitative easing be necessary based on the previous conversations we have had? To recap, in case I haven't been clear, the idea is to simulate a currency issuing country that is not constrained by taxation for the revenue, as Australia, like most countries, have moved away from the gold standard, which means that Australia is no longer constrained by taxation. Well, that's quite a mouthful. I've been corresponding with other people to help fine tune the simulation. Here are one of the comments. The problem is showing how you can sustain a deficit without destroying. I'm doing multiple things. My disk stopped burning here. Okay, there we go. The problem is showing how you can sustain a deficit without destroying your economy. That's the problem we're having right now. In the long run, and bankrupting the government, bankrupting in quotes, the government. I doubt that the simulation is even capable of doing that, although I did notice your GDP was awful. Um, if quantitative easing will be necessary, I would also need that mod as well. I have a question about inflation rates. Is there a way to have periodic updates in the quarterly report about inflation rates? And would it be possible to have inflation rate control an inflation rate control mechanism to decrease taxation, decrease spending? Okay, well, and there's a picture of, I think, the GDP. So anyway, yeah, that's exactly the issue. So now I'm going to explain why all those things are happening. Uh, let's go to the game. So Democracy 3 is the game, and make sure you have all your updates installed, because elsewise it's not going to work right, and don't blame me. So first thing you want to do is check your mods and make sure that you have everything deselected, including all of the expansions, except for the mod we're working on right now, which is Job Guarantee version 1.0. Job Guarantee is an alternative proposal to basic income, which is what we want. Alright, start a new game. Now, I was asked to use Australia as the test. All the data that I was given in order to create this mod was all based on Australia, so that's what I'm using. just so the capitalists don't murder me for creating zero unemployment, I'm just going to set that difficulty down to 50%, and I'm going to start the game. Alright, now, there's our starting situation: GDP, health, education, unemployment, crime, and poverty. Boom. Alright, so now, so we take a look here. Where is our GDP? Okay, so GDP is not so good. If we look here under the causes, you can see what's causing the GDP to rise and fall. Crime is a major issue. Uncompetitive economy, traffic congestion, and the global economy are the major issues we're dealing with today. Now, remember, if you want to increase your GDP, the easiest way to do it is to affect these causes. Now, as you can see, nowhere on these causes is unemployment. Uncompetitive economy, though, this is so basically everything in Democracy 3 is either a policy, a simulation, or a situation. Uncompetitive economy is a situation. Now, situations have the start and stop triggers. So once it goes above the red line, which it did here before I even started the game, it causes this effect to happen, which is a decrease in, or is caused by low productivity and increase in corporate taxes. The effects is a negative effect on the GDP, and the capitalists do not like having an uncompetitive economy. Why? Because they don't want to have to pay people good wages for jobs. They want a competitive environment where people will do just about anything to not starve to death. So anyway, so here we go. And in order to get rid of this, well, what we have to do is either increase productivity or lower corporate taxes. Now, start off the game with 25% capital. And as you can see, let's see, economy. There's the job guarantee. We can't issue it because we need 32 and we only have 25. Political capital. Job guarantee eradicates involuntary unemployment by offering full-time government job at a socially inclusive minimum wage to anyone who wants to work, cannot find work, find a job in the private sector. All right, insignificant. So we're just going to wait a turn. Boom. All right. There we go. Stop and search. No, because that's evil. All right. So anyway. So now, boom. We've got 50%, 50 political capital, which means we can now implement our program. So the economy and job guarantee. And most of the voters like it, which is good. People who don't like it, capitalists, of course. But as you can see, it will drastically lower unemployment and increase the number of state employees. It also will increase productivity. Now, I did this basically because what happens if you don't increase productivity with these jobs, you just continue to feed that uncompetitive environment. So I made it slightly increase productivity on the concept that these public sector jobs are designed in order to help facilitate people in the private sector. So, in other words, if you're a small business or something, we have one of these people come in and help, help manage things or alleviate some sort of stress in the private sector. But most of the jobs don't. They're mostly just kind of government busy work because, you're saying you're going to give somebody a job, but you don't say what kind of job you want to give them. If you wanted to give them a specific job, like say you want to lower crime rates, just increase your police force. If you want to, spur technology, give out technology grants or have implement a space program or something like that, or one of the other features that already exists in the game if you want to lower unemployment that way. So let's just say we're going to go with the model of 3%. This is basically what I was asked for. It ranges, you can go from 1% to 5%. So we're going to go with basically 3.5, 3% ish here. And it's going to cost $61.16 billion a quarter. Very expensive program. But, you know, eliminating unemployment is expensive. So here we go. Apply. There we go. Now, as we can see, the GDP this is from last turn. I didn't even do anything. The GDP is already in a slump because of this uncompetitive environment situation, right? So, because I just implemented the policy this turn, we're not going to see anything until next turn, really. So, you hover over here on the hello computer. Why are you not showing my there we go. A little slow. I got some other things running in the background here. All right, so as you can see, everything is blacked out because that's right, because there's an implementation time. You know, just because you say you're going to give everybody a job doesn't mean everybody's going to just automatically sign up that day. So it's going to take a couple turns. People smuggling, no, deport them. All right, so now we're starting to have an effect. But as you can see here, we're only a percentage of the effect that we're going for, because like I said, it does take a couple of turns in order for everything to take effect. So we're starting to see an decrease in unemployment and a slight increase in poor earnings, because what are we doing? We're giving minimum wage jobs. So that's why it increases poor earnings. Now, so we want to follow the effects, right? So now poor earnings has an effect on a lot of things, but none of them really that useful. It makes people use public transportation more. That's about it. That's all you get out of poor earnings. But as you can see, here we go. We try to follow this, right? So job guarantee, unemployment is what we're really looking at here. So we look at unemployment, and look at a lot of things going on here. See, now, as you can see, there are a number of things that affect unemployment, right? The job guarantee is putting a good dent in that unemployment. Just over one turn here, we can see all that's done. Now, GDP itself is affecting unemployment because we have a low GDP. It's causing unemployment. And what's the other big killer here? Let's see, unemployment, immigration. All right, cool. Immigration's pretty much flat. But see now, as we've started to eliminate unemployment, it's going to increase immigration, right? So unemployment, immigration. So as the unemployment continues to drop, eventually that's going to cause an increase in immigration as people come here to try to get jobs. And of course, it's also going to that'll fix the basically. If you have unemployment, you have you have a competitive environment. If you have no unemployment, you have an uncompetitive environment. Investors and capitalists hate an uncompetitive environment, and therefore will start pulling money out of the economy. That's a new one. Doctor strike. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, uneven vandalized. All right, continue. Blah blah blah. Anyway, so here we go. Now we're starting to see some more effects. In fact, let's just go ahead and skip a couple turns so we can really see these effects now. Alright, so now, where are we? Job guarantee. There we go. Now, as you can see, um, the job guarantee has had an effect everywhere except for the productivity is still having an effect because it takes a lot longer for these government programs to have an effect on the private sector. Um, and we can look at our unemployment again, which is here. All right. The unemployment is definitely steadily dropping now. But if we look at our immigration, that's also on the rise. So, which is of course going to slow down your unemployment. So see, we had this significant drop, and now it's starting to equalize as immigration is starting to counterbalance the effects. So, to really be effective, you gotta put a halt on that immigration. Bam. Alright, so now that's the next step. Boom. Let's keep going. Alright. Credit down rating. Okay, so now this gets to the question that was asked in our letter here from Edwin. And let's just go back to it one more time and take a look at the specifics of this question, which is okay. So part one. All right. So yes. Also, what's happening is because you now have your expenses are more than your income as far as taxation goes. That's causing a credit down rating because in the world of democracy 3, all countries are underneath the World Bank. Okay, so now here's the question. What would happen if you, say, started issuing your own currency or or started doing quantitative easing? Now, there are quantitative easing mods out there already that are pretty cool, and I like them. I don't have them installed right now, but basically what happens with quantitative easing is, I don't know if it's, some things are hidden that you can't see, but one of the things, which I don't think, let's see, it'd be a situation. Is it this one? Productivity. Alright, so now, let's see, as you can see, the job guarantee is trying to help with the productivity. Education, technology. But not really enough. So, let's see, that's not even important. We're going to cut that out. Wages. Alright, so now we have wages, which are affected by unemployment and immigration. So wages are going up, and that's good. But wages, again, do not have a direct effect on the GDP. So if you really want to increase your GDP, you got to figure out what it is that has a positive effect on the GDP. And then work on that. So oil prices, international trade. All right, these are your two big ones that are helping out, that aren't like grants or gambling or prostitution or something like that. So, international trade and oil prices. Well, what happens when you start issuing your own currency? Well, what happens is the currency starts to devaluate the more that you add into the pool. The more money you have, the less it's worth. Um, so what ends, whether it's quantitative easing or issuing your own greenbacks or whatever kind of method you want to use, you're going to have inflation. Now there is an inflation simulation, but it's hidden. You can't see it on the screen, but it is there. And so what will happen is, as you start to devalue your dollar, you're going to have inflation. So oil prices are going to go up, international trade is going to decrease, and what else is going to happen? The price of goods, food, etc., is all going to go up, and therefore it's going to continue to spiral you into debt as the capitalists stop investing in the country, and so on and so forth. So, what you're really having here is it's really a no-win situation. You can try and conjure money up out of thin air, but that's that's just not it's always going to balance itself out because you're working in a capitalist system. You're part of the global economy. So that's really the issue that we're facing with right there. Now, I can certainly, um, you know, add in a currency making mod or whatever, but it's you that's the thing with Democracy 3 is once you really start to understand the game, everything you think is a good idea and you try to start adding it in, all of a sudden it creates a whole new set of problems that you didn't think about. That's one of the things that's really um, great about the game. Now, let's go ahead and click through a couple turns here. Superhero, fighting crime, boom, we're losing money, we're bleeding money. Teacher shortage, extra terrorist suspect. Let's see, state schools, unemployment. Oh, see, this is out here as unemployment's going down. We're having a teacher shortage, and so forth. Um, yeah. Anyway, um, but yeah. So as you can see, it's all becoming quickly a big mud hole. But here we go, GDP. So see here, if you keep continuing, eventually, yeah, you will have a little bounce back. Um, you know, but there's things in the game that are just beyond the control of your own country. The global economy, for example, is a big problem. Um, so the question is, would quantitative easing or currency issuing mod be necessary? I would say no, nothing's really necessary in the game. I mean, I can build it, you can have it if you want. That's a thing. That's a thing that could exist, but might not necessarily be what you want. I have another mod where basically, in order to generate revenue, I smuggle drugs into the country, CIA style. And that, of course, leads to a whole bunch of other problems, but it does make a little nest egg in the budget that's really great. Um, So the next question is economic forecast. Would it be possible to have an automatic mechanism like health and other ones that adjust based on policies that would automatically move a certain percentage of workers from the public sector to the private sector during a boom cycle, and then move a certain percentage of workers from private sector to public sector during a recession? This would not eliminate the job guarantee during the boom cycle, as the job guarantee is a buffer to offset fluctuating boom and bust cycles. Um, well, that's one thing. Okay, now first off, you don't want to stay away from terms like automated. The whole purpose of Democracy 3 is not to have automated things, because if you wanted to have automated things, then you could just automate everything, and why bother playing the game at that point? Because you wouldn't have to do anything. It was just computer just would just play itself, which is it was cool AI challenge, but that's not really how it's not really how the game is designed and how the game works. Like I said, like things like GDP. So this is a simulation. So simulations, I they're affected by these things here. Some things are automated, quote unquote, like global economy. Like there is nothing you can do in the game to affect the global economy. The global economy goes up, it goes down. It's random, just like real life. You know, there's not really anything you can do to change that. Policies cannot be automated, because policies are just that. They're policies that you set, and they do what you tell them to do. So if I want a policy to change, I can't have a policy automatically do things. I can have policies affected by things, but um, like the original request for um, the job guarantee was that it'd be affected by the GDP. So as we can see here, as the GDP has gone down, the cost of the program has gone down from 60 billion to 42 billion, because the cost is based on a percentage of the GDP. Now I can't make this slider move by itself. If I want to move this slider, I have to move it myself. So if I want to decrease it, now that the economy is coming back up, or something's more expensive or whatever, I just lower it down, and I have to probably change some 2% down. And over the next two turns, it will start to adjust the effects. Um, yeah. Now, one thing as you can see here, um, I was talking about, is these situations like this uncompetitive environment here. Now, this uncompetitive environment is a situation, and those are affected. Those are automatically affected by the simulations. You can't. You can have policies that try to directly affect these, but the game doesn't really work like that. Like, the way the game works is that you have to create policies that affect the simulations, and then the simulations in turn affect the situations. So that's kind of like the mechanics of the game and how it works, and what I'm really trying to explain here. So, the job guarantee, see, now you can see it starting to shrink back down again. The job guarantee will affect the unemployment. There we go. Yes. Um, and then unemployment will affect the things that unemployment affects. So if you want to have something that affects the GDP directly, then you need to figure out what that is. Yeah, things that affect GDP are like funding things. You gotta fund some stuff in order to affect the GDP, or you need to affect one of the other situations that affects the GDP. Now, like I said, I can't do an economic forecast because there's no way to tell the future. It's randomized. Um, that's kind of part of the player's job is try to figure out what is going on or not. So, with that information, Edwin, um, you know, uh, you need to start thinking about what it is exactly, what it is you want to do, and why that is, you know, why that's going to happen. Yeah, could I just make a money printing machine that does nothing but just put money in the budget with no other effect? Sure, I could make that, but that's essentially a cheat. That's not really, you're not really simulating anything that resembles real life anymore. So you really need to kind of keep that in mind when you decide to choose what policy you want me to create next, if you do want me to create another policy. So hopefully that has helped explain everything. And yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. And remember, if anybody wants a get into Democracy 3 and get a cool mod from it, go ahead and hit me up on Fiverr. Same name, The King for Mayor. 8. And